Parent Entrepreneur Power. Conversation number 199.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? It's Mama Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Guess who? You know who I am, Mary Catherine Johnson, and I have a gentleman with me. You know, it's so funny. I met this gentleman. Actually, he gave me a call while I was at a conference back in June of 2017. And ever since then, we've just been going back and forth, saying hi, chatting here and there. And now we actually get to meet face to face. Well, I get to meet him because I can see him, even though you can't. Well, sorry. You're just going to have to go to his site to see who he is. But anyway, welcome to the conversation, Arvell Craig. He is a marketing coach, an entrepreneur, a speaker, an author, a marathoner. That's something I'm not. A Christian father and a husband. Hey there, Arvell. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mary. How are you?
I am fan-stinking-tastic. You know, we're coming into fall. How could I be anything but wonderful? I'm loving this time of the year. So, and I know you're in an area where probably fall's a good thing for you too, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's Disneyland here in Phoenix. You know, when it gets under 103, it's oh my gosh.
You're happy campers.
It's lovely.
Yes. All right. So I introduced you with all those wonderful adjectives and all those things that you do, but let's get into this and find out your once upon a time story. I mean, how did you get into this whole parenting and entrepreneur thing?
Sure. Well, again, depends on how you want to describe it. I mean, I started business. I say when I was 9 years old. I started cutting hair. I cut my brother's hair and he cut mine. And this is back in Detroit, Michigan. And within the next couple of years, my 7th grade friends and neighbors wanted their haircuts, and I was charging $1. And went from $1 to $3 and lost all my customers with that 300% increase. Was not a good business strategy. But I cut hair. I've always taken a skill. I needed money, and that's what we did. And through high school, grade school, college, eventually, I stopped cutting hair and started slicing Photoshop files, and got into design. Again, back in 2001, was doing websites for the university and the college I went to. And while I was still in college, I've always done stuff for people. And that's kind of what I'm still doing now.
Got it. So the entrepreneur thing came first, obviously.
Gotcha. Correct. There was no kids at 9 or high school or college.
No.
And,
but my goodness, I got to tell you, that's the first time I've heard of someone saying they started out cutting hair. I mean, I can understand selling things, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, these kinds of things. I even had one guy right out of high school pawnbroker, So what in the heck? Cutting hair. What made you think that you could actually charge people to cut their hair? How did that thought process happen?
I mean, I didn't invent the industry of barbering, so there was a market, and it was proven. It was a proven market out there. My family's in the hair business in Detroit.
Thank you. There's the connection. Thank you.
My dad mainly they sold hair products. And so we had a lot of stuff lying around. And I just needed money. Yeah.
That is amazing. So a kid looking around at his environment going, okay, I got all this stuff here. What can I do with it? And you went out and did it. That makes sense. I mean, to pick out of the air to go cut hair. I didn't mean to be a poet, but anyway, to just choose that out of the air, it doesn't, I can't make the connection, but now I get it. Wow. So, okay, college and doing websites and Photoshop and going from one cutting to another cutting. And so where did the kids come into play?
When I went to grad school, I moved to Oklahoma. I was in grad school, met my wife, got married, and 2 years later, I actually did stop business for a little bit and just, was in grad school, was taking different jobs, and my wife got pregnant. I said, okay, I need to make money, like real money again. And so I got back into web design and This is, I don't know what year it was, but after a couple of years, that company somewhat went out of business. And so, I had been used to running my own thing. And I knew that as they were dwindling, I needed to kind of take control of my own fate. And again, my daughter was, 1 or 2. My wife wasn't working. And so I needed to get back into business. So it was a pretty simple transition, looking on Craigslist and said, okay, let me just start helping people. And I said, if I could sell 2 websites a month, I could take care of my family. This is maybe '08, '07, '08, whatever, '09. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So pretty much baby effect was taken into effect there, and you just have to jump in and make things happen when you got to make things happen. There's just
Exactly.
and you
Great
go back,
motivation.
yeah, and you go back to the skills that you have and you go, all right, what can I do for those? And look around for who you can help. And it's that's pretty much business in a nutshell, right? So, all right. So you get websites and you start create. So did you actually do like templates with WordPress, or did you actually code?
I was coding Joomla sites
Oh my. Oh
and just
boy.
just hard coding, HTML, CSS, Dreamweaver, all that kind of stuff. And eventually, I think when I got to WordPress, I learned to hire people. So
Isn't
I
that a
started.
wonderful thing to learn?
It is. It is.
Wow. And so you start hiring people, and then how did business go and what happened next?
Oh, sure. So the business went well. I eventually, again, I started just the experience of talking to people and finding out what they want, and they would, give me a couple $100. And then I heard about this word called marketing, which I didn't study business. I studied, I had a computer science degree and a master's of divinity degree, but nothing with business or marketing. But I learned that I saw the most ugliest sites getting traffic and getting lots of money. And I realized that all my design skills, all my fancy photoshopping, it's all cute and good, but it doesn't always make people money. And I realized if I added marketing to my web stuff, I'd make a whole lot more money. So I got into SEO and things went really well. Outsourcing, looking across Southeast Asia, $3 an hour. I was able to outsource with a lovely margin
Wow.
business. And eventually Google kind of got mad at people like me and Penguin and Panda, if you know the history. And
Yes, I do.
that was my downhill transition from doing SEO to this is like what 2011, 12, 13, and
Yeah.
just clients got mad at me, and so I had so since then I've been kind of consulting a bit. I don't do a lot of the same work anymore, but it's kind of been that's again you mentioned in my bio. More into speaking, more into coaching, more into kind of shifting business to really deal with the person and the individual, which excites me. I do marketing stuff as well, but I get a
Right.
little bit more excited when I actually can help a human
Yes.
become their best version that helps to grow the business, you
Doesn't
know.
that just light you up?
Yes.
It just lights me up. Yes, it is so amazing when you connect with someone and see clearly how your help has made a huge difference in their life and their business. That is just nothing compares, truly. Okay, so it sounds like you had a wake up call with that wonderful little penguin panda thing going on
Yes.
and had to start looking down. And it sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but it sounds like your master's degree kicked in because it sounds like that master's also deals with people and humans
Hmm.
and how they relate
Hmm.
to a particular divinity. Okay, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
how you can help them with that relationship. And you took that and combined it with your tech and just decided to consult with human beings.
Yeah. Like my latest hook is spirit soul business growth is what I'm about. So there's different levels, different people. It starts off, a lot of people just want marketing help. They want business help. They want more sales, more money. And so I start there because I've been doing it for 16 years. Say, hey, here's a tip, here's a trick, here's a tactic. And so we start with marketing. And eventually, depending on the relationship I have with people, I say, you as a person, you can market better if you focus on your strength, so there's spirit soul. So let's go. So start with your soul. Who are you? What do you like doing? Because I used to do whatever it takes to get results. but it wasn't like my strength. It wasn't my gift. I didn't love it. I did what I ever had to do. So now, like, I've redefined success of actually enjoying everyday life. And so I believe that if you figure out who you were built to be, just your natural talents, how can you, orchestrate your business around your strengths? So that's that soul, personality, strength finder, whatever you want to call it, different ways you can understand you. And then of those people, depending on relationships, some people may say, okay, I'm looking for a deeper meaning, deeper purpose. And what does that look like? So it's just, to me, there's a funnel there in my world. There's the marketing, and then there's the soul, and then a few people want to deal with, deeper questions.
Yes. Yes. And that's, like you say, there's a funnel. That's really, to me, what the funnel is. People come into your world, you hook them in with something they need right now. And they get that. They transform from that on a small level, large level, whatever, but they transform somehow. Then they look deeper and go, okay, what else you got? And then you go to the next step and the next step. And some of them get all the way through, and you really, truly help transform their lives. And when you do that, that's when they are a fan for life. You know them, they know you. This is personal. This isn't just a number in a funnel. I have 500 subscribers. It's not a 500 subscribers thing. This is Susie Q, right? This is the person. That's incredible. Is that what you're talking about when you talk about funnel too?
Yeah. No. That's how
it.
I've learning to evolve, learning to integrate all that who I am into all that I do. So I don't have these silos, these pockets. Yeah. So over here, I'm wearing this. That's my issue again. I started like churchmarketing.tv was a brand I built in 2009. So I had wear a little church marketing hat, and then I had the marketing business hat, and then I had the, the
coach
past
thing.
hat.
And
I've taught at universities. I've worn many different hats in different times. And I was like, okay, how can I bring all this together with integrity, with transparency? And that's kind of what I'm leaning into.
I love talking to people who've gone on a similar journey. I love it because I agree 100%. I've done I can't even talk about how many hats I've worn and what different directions it's taken. And, two things that have just recently totally impacted my life. And there was the book, The One Thing, Gary Keller. Right?
Dude.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like, oh my goodness, explode my world. Why don't you? Right? Yeah. And it really, once I got there and am like, okay, that's it. One thing. I already knew multitasking didn't work, so that wasn't an issue. But still, one thing. Focus on it. And I'm doing that, and my world is absolutely exploding. And whenever another thing comes up and says, oh, but Mary, you could do this. Because I am one of those people who need variety. Right? So this thing comes up over here and says, oh, Barry, you could do this. Somebody's asking you to go over here and do stuff in insurance. And I'm like, are you kidding me? No, that's an easy one. No. Right? Because it's not my one thing. So sorry. Nope. Ain't doing it. Yeah. And then recently you mentioned straight finders. You mentioned those kinds of things. I just actually today took Dan Miller's DISC profile, DISC.
Okay.
I had never, another friend of mine online said, hey, Dan Miller's having a sale. And I'm like, yeah, I've kind of looked at that before. What is that? And I just went and did it. And it was pretty cool. But, the more you do know yourself, the more you can really focus on your strengths. So tell me how there's so many different directions we could go with this, especially with the one thing. Now, you really reacted to that and responded to that. Tell me how that affected your life.
What I'm going to do, technically I read the book 4 or 5 times in the past 4 years, but in the past 5 days, the book or the concept is revolutionizing my world. And I don't know what actually brought it on. I don't know if it was you, if you put it out on Facebook, but something triggered in the past couple of days where I just got on the podcast. I just started listening to the podcast, again, just within the past 3-4 days, listen to Jeff Woods, and I've got this quote, this statement. Anyway, so in the past 3-4 days, the idea of the greatest success is succeeding through others, which again, I'm getting from the podcast that Gary Keller says. The idea of, it's just, there's some interviews with Jeff Woods going through the process with people and the way he coaches people and the way he asks questions. Yeah. And so the thing I need in my life is to be better with leadership and management and people, i.e., succeeding through others. And it's my one issue with the one area in my life. So I can do a lot of good things, like my skills, but translating that into creating teams, I've never really figured it out because I'm just a talented person. I've done a lot on my own, but in order for me to go to where I want to go in the future, I have to figure out succeeding through others. That is like my number one area I need. And so, but that's been the idea of listening to the podcast, that statement and all the derivatives of what that looks like is what is shaking up my world. How do I grow through other people? If you have a problem, you say, I need a person. I don't need another book. I don't need another class. I don't need another training, blog, YouTube show, podcast, morning pages, journal. I do all that stuff. I do tons of stuff for self.
Right.
But it's like, I need better humans.
Right. We need to actually act, not consume. We need to act through people because we can't do it all ourselves.
Right.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Here again. I love talking to people who are on the same journey. Gosh, yes. Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. And it's, that's a tough one. That really is a tough one for most of us. So it ties right into when I said I did the 48 hours to the work you love, Dan Miller's DISC formula. And it specifically calls me what did it call me? A persuader, I think. That was my strength. Yes. A persuader. So
Is that an I? That's the I, right?
Yeah, I and D, Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I'm an ID kind of person. So I definitely direct things, but I mostly am an I. And it was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I love doing things through people, but not necessarily in a team. I hadn't done that before. I was the same as you. I got to do it all. I just know how to do it. I'm just going to jump in and do it. I love doing it. I love learning. I'm just going to jump in and do it. Yeah. So how are you transitioning into that whole idea of through others? Have you started down that path yet, or are you still consuming in that respect?
No, I'm working on it. I mean, I've got a business. I've got a couple of different businesses, and one business client is like somewhat buying me out or is getting me to like be their VP of marketing. So, and it's like whatever road I go, I need to work with people. And so, I mean, in short, I'm consciously committing to, I guess there's these two words. These are the two words I have to tell myself. One is patience. What's the other one? I forgot the other one. But it's like the reason why I do everything myself is because I think I need to respond so quickly when a request comes in. So I'm telling myself I need patience, that I don't have to respond or solve it that quickly. Patience and trust. So patience meaning I don't have to get back to that client within 2-3 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, even a day or two. And if I can be patient and then if I can trust another person, then I can figure it out. Anyway, so that's the two words I'm saying. I have a couple, 3 or 4 different assistants working with me. And so the goal is I'm just preparing them to do 80% of the work that need to be done. So I'm like, I need to just give them more responsibility. I need to budget that in. Like, don't even make a profit. I have to figure this out, how to work with the people. And
and then once you get that framework built, then your profit will come because you'll have it dialed. Everybody will be running smoothly, and then you can build that in.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I agree. One of my favorite tools right now, I don't know if you've used this before, is called Loom. And I think it's useloom.com.
I did know Loom.
I use that all the time. So my assistant, I'll have him do something. Recently, I had done a messenger bot for someone, a big company, and I had to gather statistics of how the bot is performing. And so instead of me going in, which I would have normally done and gone in and figured it out and put all these things in a spreadsheet and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, no, Mary, can't do that. You don't have time for that. You got to delegate that to somebody else. I just get up, bring up the Use Loom and share my screen, say, okay, here's the bot, here's the form, put this number here, find this number there, find this whole thing, because it was a big production, lots of places that we had to look. Find this, hear this, and this, navigate this, there you go, let me know when you're done. That took me 8 minutes to do that whole thing. And it's going to take him probably a good hour at least to finish all that stuff and find all those numbers. So there's an hour out of my day or, 52 minutes, if that's the case, that I can go do other things and, get on a Skype call with a prospective client and hopefully sell another service. Instead of sitting there doing a statistics,
No,
which I
no,
don't
it's
need to
it's
do.
it's 52 minutes a week, right? It's not like if you as long as it saves, that's an archived process. I think I
Yeah.
heard someone say you should only do it once, right? You should only
Yep.
certain things you should only do one time, and you record it
Yep.
as you do it,
Yep.
and then you never have to. I mean, that's the utopia version. You
It
do it
is.
once, and you never have to do it again. It
Yeah.
sounds great.
It
Yeah.
is. It actually does work. And there are times when I've actually done that. And I've actually taken that process and gone, like podcast editing, what we're doing right now, we're doing a podcast. My podcast editor, that's how I had him do that. I bring up and I actually share my screen, do the whole edit, and now I haven't had to do it again. Done. I'm done. And that's at least 2 hours a week minimum saved. And I haven't had to do that for, a year and a half, because of that. So it's a miracle. It's absolutely wonderful. And then I look around and go, okay, I think I've got other things I can do now and actually do them and try and actually build a business and make money. So we haven't even talked about your kids. Tell me about your kids.
Yeah. Okay. I have one child, a daughter. Her name is Avriel, and
Sounds
name
like
means
it's a
breath,
combination.
means breath of life. Yeah, just
Oh,
swap
beautiful.
the V and R and throw an I, and
You
there's
got
her
it.
name.
Wow.
So she's 11, and she's into gymnastics and dance, and yeah, that's
Wow.
Oh,
11.
musically, I had her. She was selling slime a couple months ago when that was more popular. But no, she's very creative, artistic, wants to sing and dance and act while doing all this physical stuff. So she's
Wow. And she's 11, so she's just coming into that middle school time.
yeah.
Oh boy. Hang on for the ride on that one, Daddy. Yeah, hang on close. Middle school was the toughest time for both of my boys. Really tough. So I'm lucky that we had a really good communication so that they could come home and, ask me questions when they got to sex education class, which was not fun. So, but at least I was there to talk about what I needed to make sure they knew. So
That's great that they talk to you. That's super.
I
That's
was absolutely blessed. Yeah. Definitely talked about all kinds of things. And when they asked questions, my response always was, okay, now are you sure you want to know this? Because they would look at me and go, what is blank? And I'm like, okay, are you sure you want to know this? Because once you know, you can't unknow.
yeah.
So are you sure? And then we would go on and they'd go, oh my gosh, oh, gross. Like, yeah, I know. It's gross. So yeah, that's a fun one that's coming up, and I'll leave that to you and have fun with it. But it sounds like dance and music. So she doesn't play an instrument. She just likes to sing and dance and things like that.
If she could learn an instrument, she would. If she could, yeah, she could. I'll see what happens the next couple of months. But yeah, if she could be busy, it seems like right now she's in stuff 4 days a week.
Oh my goodness.
Which is 2 years ago when we lived in Oklahoma, she was doing 12 hours just in gymnastics at the age of 8.
Oh my gosh.
And so we came here and the transition and some things happened. So she kind of took a break and now she's slowly getting back into that. But no, she would, I gave her piano lessons for a season in the past. So she would love to learn piano and guitar and give voice lessons and acting lessons as well. And I'm tempted to actually stretch her and see how much she really wants to do because she's very outgoing. And if I'm not doing that, she's on, Musically and YouTube, all day long. So
Yeah. Well, then keep her busy and keep her learning. You betcha. Now's the time to do it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. All right. So coaching and marketing and, helping people, finding things that people need that you can serve, and director of marketing. What's next for Arvell? So you're talking about the one thing, you're talking about doing things through people, but what do you see on the horizon? Where's that helping you go? So if you outsource a bunch of stuff and you free up your time, what are you going to do with it?
No. I mentioned spirit, soul, business growth is the general concept, one way of describing a mission or whatever. Specifically, I want to write one book a year, at least for the next 20 years. So I do like to write and speak. Like that's one thing, this big thing I learned in the past couple of years. I've dabbled in many different things, but you think about your one thing, there's this book called Your One Degree that I read a long time ago. I went through coaching. I'm actually a certified coach in this program, but it's about figuring out your one degree instead of 360 degrees of all the different directions. Kind of mentioned like Strength Finder. How do you find out your thing? And for me, it's writing and speaking. That is the simplest version of what I'm committed to for the rest of my life.
Wow.
How it looks, I do a lot of marketing speaking. But again, as I shift from marketing, I always do marketing, but I also do personal growth, personal development. So it's short. My future is writing and speaking. And again, I have a bunch of ideas, but I have one particular app idea I hope to build in the next 6 months that I've been sitting on for 2 years. But they're all the same thing. The writing will promote the speaking promotes the writing or the app. The app can promote the book. So my goal is to find a theme. Well, I already know the theme, but that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. So I can just wake up every day, do my morning routine, take care of family, write and speak, or work on content, you could say, for 4 hours a day, and then work with clients or my team for 4 hours a day. That's
You're a happy camper.
Yes.
And I know you and I are going to be speaking together. We are going to be sharing the stage here coming up in January. So I'm very excited about that. So how did you determine that? How did you determine out of all the hats you've worn? And, no test or assessment can give us what we need to do. They can kind of guide us and give us an idea, or really, I think that disc from Dan Miller really only verified or validated what I kind of already knew about myself, right? So how did you determine that one degree? How did you determine that writing and speaking or content was really what you loved and want to do for the rest of your life? Yeah,
well, it's the one degree program, technically. I think it's still around, your1degree.com. It is a coaching program that is free and it helps you figure out. So in short, it's like you just go through a process of looking over your past and highlighting all the little high moments, the things that were most meaningful for you. And then if you break down those moments and say, okay, what was I actually doing in that moment? And you can kind of pull out some of those attributes, like what was I actually involved in? What was I engaged in this context? Because there could be different moments, but you'll see patterns and you'll see themes. And so for mine, I can pull out when I was in the 8th grade and I graduated, and I was asked, they had a competition for who would be the not valedictorian, but the speaker in the 8th grade graduation. It's a small little private school. And I wrote a poem or a rap, you could say. And I always stuttered. I was always bad at speaking. And I never forget when I not only wrote the winning speech, which was a poem, and then I got a chance to just speak that in front of friends and family and parents. There was, it was flawless. And then my friend's father saying, I was waiting on you to stutter, or do something and you never did. He was just, but so much praise and congratulations, And then through high school, I never spoke, I never read, I never liked anything. But then in college, I got involved in music and I just performing. I was in music. So there's performances. So there's these themes that I've noticed. And again, and again, when I mentioned business was going well, when I was doing SEO, I would never forget the feeling getting my first 6-figure client, just one. I was already making 6 figures, but this one client themselves was more than all the other ones.
Wow.
And I'll never forget when I got that first check. If I could put into words how empty and meaningless that was, and then compare that to when I wrote my first book, and I never forget when I got the first copy of, it was all self-published. I did it myself. I went through Amazon. Yes. I got my first draft.
Yes.
I was in my home by myself. Tears came to my eyes because I'm emotional.
Yeah.
I think about myself a lot. I want to feel good. I want to enjoy life. I want to figure out my purpose. I want to, I'm just very consciously aware of what I don't like and what I do like. And through thinking and being very introspective over, 20 years of adulthood, it's pretty clear. And so now my commitment is every day, like I write an email, just it's the oldest school marketing you could imagine. But for at least 5 days a week, I wake up And if I can write an email that encourages people or motivates them or gives something, or if they hate me, whatever, I'll write an email every day. And so these small little steps that I can control, and I feel it in my day. So that's kind of what I've learned, and that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. And to be able to know really that the first thing that requires is self-awareness and paying attention to what makes you happy, what makes you not happy. So many people go through life and they don't have no clue about what that is. But those of us who do, it is just so empowering once you accept that and embrace it and then move more toward it, which is what sounds like you're doing.
I guess there's one other thing to be helpful is, because just because you're happy about it doesn't mean you can actually make a living of it. And that's always a challenge. Follow your passions. That doesn't mean it's going to be a business.
Yeah.
But for those of us who actually like creating businesses, especially if you're into marketing, there is a hook, there's a way. And depending on how you look into it, and that's what's been a blessing about the world we live in now, with you can be what you're about and be free about it and find a way to tie it into. And again, you've got a podcast and you're talking about, parents and whatever you are, there's a market for it. And so that's something that I'm just now learning. I didn't learn it in the past. I wasn't open and vocal about all my things I cared about, but I'm recognizing through my marketing hat that there's an audience for almost anything.
Yes.
Think about the classic article, 1,000 True Fans, Kevin Kelly, whatever. There's a market for it. Yeah. And because I know that I'm committed to it for the rest of my life, I'm not looking for a quick win or a one-hit wonder. Yep. I know that if I keep doing this for the next 5-10 years, and looking again, I've noticed that speaking is a great lead generator. So that's something. I speak for free. I don't get money for it, but I've learned that when you're standing on the stage in front of people, whatever you talk about, no matter what you know about it, there's an instant respect that does better than any Facebook ad campaign you could imagine. No matter how fancy your graphics are or what kind of website designer you built, physically standing in front of an audience is such a better way to create business and get people to trust you and be willing to do business. So that's, for a business standpoint, I realized that speaking is the best lead generator that I know of right now. And so anyway, so just tying all that and finding ways to take what I enjoy and seeing that I can monetize it or gain trust for the opportunity to offer somebody a solution has been a great realization.
Yeah. And I love how you tie in your words, patience and trust. And they're coming full circle, and they're helping you actually build your business and grow as a human being. And really, truthfully, growing as a human being is to me what our purpose is on the earth, to grow as a human being and help as many people around us do the same.
Exactly.
To me, that's really what it's about. So, wow. Well, Arvell, I'm so glad we can actually speak face to face. I cannot wait to share the stage with you. That is going to be a blast. You and I are going to have a blast on that stage. I know it. We are just going to, we're going to light it up, baby. So anybody who wants to come, it's, if you're anywhere around, it's going to be the Affiliate Summit West in Las Vegas in January. And we'll be there, and we'd love to see you. If if you hear this after that fact, I'm sorry we missed you, but you can always find us in the replays, I'm sure, and find us online. So is there anything, let's say if there's someone sitting out on the fence and they're thinking, the number one thing they're thinking right now is, I know he's right. I know I need to add more staff. I know I need to delegate some of these things. I'm getting dead tired doing it all myself. If that person's sitting out there and they're rocking back and forth on the fence going, I want to do it, but what's the first step I should take? How am I going to trust someone else? And how am I going to be patient that it's done when they get it done and not when I get it done? What would you say to that person who's having that internal conflict right now?
You had one of your last podcasts, you talked about perfectionism and you talked about rejection. And again, to me, it's different people will feel different things. It just depends on their experience. But I guess the best suggestion I'd say is you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of time. Like you mentioned, using useloom.com or whatever tool. To me, it's starting small, figuring out what is something that they can explain or teach that's very monotonous or very strict and specific. Think about something they may spend 5 hours a week on, or something that happens on a regular basis. It's like baby steps. Let's figure out, is there one thing that you do on a regular basis that is the same exact thing over and over again? And there may not be any software that can automate it. And so let's just budget 5 hours a week. Let's say $5 an hour, something super, super low for you to test. And, go to Upwork.com and simply just create a really, really small test, a really small project that you can begin to, find someone to take 5 hours of your week away from you. But then the other half is that, of course, they need to use those 5 hours proactively. That's kind of you got to swap those. You want to replace your unleveraged, unvaluable, or less, replace $5, $10 an hour time with your $100 an hour time. So a lot of times it's more like, to me, a lot of people, I think the first decision is really committing to their strength. I think that's almost a bigger thing, because they're going to get more leverage from that. And then again, like I said, do a small $5, $25 a week test to replace a couple hours and just commit to it,
Yeah. Fantastic. I agree. So what I hear you saying is, if I'm sitting out in the audience and I am a solo entrepreneur and I do it all, but really my highest value, biggest billing task, I can't do as much because I'm doing all these little things that I can't even bill for. Right? Okay. So let's say it's posting to Hootsuite or Buffer. Right? So that's something I can't get paid for unless I'm actually a social media person who gets paid for that. But so if I'm a solo entrepreneur and I'm just posting for my own business, I don't get paid to do that. So that's something I could easily have someone else do for me.
Exactly.
So that's what I hear you saying is, remember and make sure you know what is your highest value in your business that only you can do, that you not only don't want to outsource, but really can't outsource, because then it's basically giving your business over to someone else. Okay. So that highest value thing, if you could spend more of your time doing that, what kind of a raise would you give yourself over 5 hours a week? So that then get rid of those 5 hours a week and delegate out that Hootsuite or Buffer or whatever other monotonous task that you have to do every single week, and get rid of that so you can focus more on that high value. Yes. Okay, Power Parents, you heard it. You got to do it now. I'm challenging you. Arvell and I are both challenging you. So you better get out there and do that and grow your business, because it won't grow unless you do that, unless you trust and be patient and then focus on your high value. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got a chance to chat and say hello. And Power Parents, you will have in the show notes. You can go to the show notes and see all the links to go to everything that Arvell has available. Right now, I know there's one thing, especially if he's writing and speaking are really his strong points and what he loves to do. Then go to arvellcraig.com/books. And it's ARVEL Craig, CRAIG.
Two L's.
I'm sorry. ARVELLCRAIG.com/books. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending this time with me. I can't wait to chat again. I can't wait to see you in January and my first trip to Las Vegas. And and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mary Catherine. It's been a great show. It's been great to chat with you and share with you, and looking forward to the future.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parententrepreneur.power.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.